Well, it starts with the old school like tightening of the tummy and the butterflies and that weirdness, kind of just that feeling of like fear nearly. And then it progresses to kind of unwanted thoughts and kind of intrusions into your mind where you start to think about things like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this person thinks that? What if this happens in work? Etc., etc. And they're never nice thoughts. They're never normal thoughts. They're always like some extreme madness that, would never happen. So it's the unwanted thoughts that was the big thing with me, and that being constant. So you'd get the feeling in the tummy, and then all the thoughts would follow, and they would be in your head 24/7. And not only have you one bad thought going on, but you've got bad thoughts about everything. And then those bad thoughts then are feeding into new bad thoughts, and one is feeding on the other, and then all of a sudden you've got, you're at a point where everything is terrible, because if one bad thing goes wrong in work, sure, you weren't a great person anyway, and then you're not a great person, so that's why that relationship isn't going great at the minute, or that's why that person doesn't like you. And so it all feeds into each other, and anxiety loves being fed. Or it's very hungry and it loves being fed. And if you suffer with anxiety, it's very hard to be nice to yourself, so you're feeding your own anxiety. So you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're making it worse. But once you get help for that, you can learn to like grab your thoughts and sort them out, and then that's one taken care of, and that's one less thing to be worried about or anxious about. And so there's a lot to be said for taking control of a situation. And I know now I probably never would have been able to take control of that situation had it not been for counselling and learning about it and learning how to cope with it. So I'm happy to say I'm in a much, much better place now after counselling with SOSAD. Yes, I would say so. I'd say over the years it has gotten worse. And there would be bouts of it. Like I would be in general quite an anxious person, and I just thought that was me. And so there was like this base level that was always there, but then bouts of it would get really bad. And so then you end up in a situation where, you're just really not able to cope. You were, barely able to cope with the base level of it. But once it ramps up, it's just impossible to kind of separate out the thoughts and separate out what's going on. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a horrible thing, to have those fearful, anxious thoughts in your mind all the time. It's non-stop, and if you're going through a particularly bad time, like it can be horrendous, because there really is no rest from it, and you'll be so tired and you'll want to fall asleep. But like if you're dealing with anxiety and depression, like the last thing your brain wants to let you do when your head hits the pillow at night is sleep, because that's a great time to have a good think about stuff, So there's the physical element comes with it then as well, the tiredness, and then that leads to, say, more irritability, and then, you're kind of feeding that again, saying, well, I'm being narky, so why wouldn't they like me? And, everything is your fault. You don't cut yourself, or at least I didn't anyway. I didn't cut myself any slack at all. Like everything in life was my fault, whether it was work or family or other relationships or whatever. It was all my fault. It's the classic thing of if somebody bumps into you in the street, I would automatically apologize because they bumped into me. but it must be my fault. What was I doing standing there? You know, so it's that kind of level of blaming yourself all the time. Through counselling. It's really the only thing that's ever helped. Not that I ever went to tackle it in the past, you know, it's only through counselling now that I understand that I don't have to live like this. I don't have to deal with that all the time. Um, I'm taking control of my life now, and I'm taking control of those feelings, and I'm being kinder to myself, and I'm being nicer to myself, and I'm not allowing those thoughts to take control anymore. Through the counselling with So Sad, I'm now equipped with the tools, I know the triggers, and I can help myself through those moments of anxiety, where previously they would have taken control. They don't now. If you don't feel right, if you don't feel right and you feel like there's moments in your life, times in your life, feelings in your life that don't sit well with you, that make you anxious, that make you fearful, if you're not sleeping at night, if you find yourself cancelling social plans because you're afraid of, who might be there or what might happen or that people won't like you, or, if you find yourself having moments like that, like speak to your GP, speak to your husband, your wife, your partner, a best friend, speak to somebody. And, in a lot of cases, dealing with anxiety and depression early on, I think would help people to get a handle on this stuff earlier, and that you wouldn't end up maybe needing counselling, or that you wouldn't end up in a worse place, whether it's 6 months or 5 years down the line. Talk to people, and if something doesn't feel right, just say it out loud. If you've had a sniffle or a cough, you would say to your husband, your partner, or whoever, I've got a sniffle or a cough. So what's the difference in being concerned about your mental health and keeping a check on that and understanding it, and wanting to be better, to get to a point in your life where it's not controlling you anymore is so freeing and so liberating. And I would love for everybody who's gone through depression and anxiety to feel like I do now, because it's way better than it was. And the best thing I've ever done for myself was go and get counselling. It's the nicest thing that I've ever done for myself. And so I would suggest to people to talk. Talking is the only way you'll ever get to a point where it's out of your head.